Welcome to Las Vegas, Nevada, sometimes called America's Playground, also called Sin City. But in today's episode, we're going to talk about a very important leadership trait. And yeah, sometimes people don't think Las Vegas, leadership, that is not something that is said in the same sentence, but yes it is. Because in today's episode, we're actually going to talk about friendliness. Yes, friendliness is an important leadership trait, and for my trip here to Las Vegas, we experienced a whole heck of a lot of friendliness that can help with building your brand, building your company, building you yourself as a person, and giving a memorable experience to an entire city. And if you want more leadership tips like this in your life, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon right now so you never miss an episode. Welcome to Adventures in Leadership on Kristie TV. This is where high achievers go for the tools, confidence, and motivation to become a successful leader. Let's do this. Well, here's the story. I came here with my best friend who has never been here before. I've been here a couple times, but what's interesting is that we saw a lot of friendliness. I think that was the thing that we really picked out from the entire experience of Las Vegas, a lot of friendliness. And like I said, most people don't think of Las Vegas and friendliness as one and the same, but I want to tell you that's exactly what we experienced and how important it is for you to have friendliness as your little toolbox of leadership traits. And I'm going to give you 5 stories of this experience, not from people who are necessarily leaders by title, but how important it was for them to display friendliness to us and made our experience that much better. Now, as I said earlier, my best friend Brandy has never been here. So our first experience with friendliness comes from Spencer. So as soon as she touched down here in Las Vegas, she just got done with the airport, we wanted a little dinner, we went to a very simple restaurant, but our experience was extremely memorable because of our waiter. Now, I'm not going to say that he was the manager or he was the owner of the restaurant, he was the waiter. He was friendly, he chatted us up, he said, hey, where are you from? And then he went on to say how much he loved his job, how much he loved working at that restaurant, how much he loved being a substitute teacher because that's what he did when he wasn't being a waiter. So it was really interesting to us. He just hung out at our table, talked us up, made sure we were all taken care of, made sure that we were comfortable. But I'll tell you that it really made a difference in our experience, especially for Brandy, because this was the very first time that she had been in here. And sometimes this city, well, you sometimes hear stuff, right? Because supposedly what happens here stays here. So with Spencer, he was extremely friendly. We wanted to go to that bar and grill every single day, actually, because we heard about how much he loved it, how much he loved the city, and he really was almost like a mini ambassador for the city because of how much he said he loved being here. So it really kind of made us feel comfortable and kind of made us look forward to the experience of Las Vegas. So even though Spencer might not have been a leader, the owner, the manager, maybe he didn't own stock in that restaurant, but to us, it reflected awesome on the restaurant's reputation. Here comes experience number 2. So picture 2 women wandering aimlessly in the Luxor Hotel trying to find the elevators. And in comes a man and says, hey, what are you looking for? We just said, oh, we just want to find the elevators. He's like, no problem, I'll show them to you. So he points us in both sets of elevators. We're like, okay, great, thanks. So we kind of thought, well, that was the end of our journey. Well, here we were in the hotel lobby. An hour later, we're still talking to him. So he kind of stopped us and said, hey, by the way, you know, where are you from? How are you enjoying Las Vegas? What are you doing here? What do you think of the city? Because Brandy had never been here. So we started chatting, found out he grew up in the Metro Detroit area, so did I. So of course we had a lot in common. So we started talking about, you know, different memories and different familiar things down in Metro Detroit. And then he went back to Brandy, who's a teacher, and said, hey, you know, what's it like teaching? He was very interested in education. So here we are talking with Steph, who we found out later is a prominent businessman that was going to Las Vegas and had been living in Las Vegas for a while, looking to do some business. And he wanted our opinions of what did we think? What did we want more of Las Vegas? What were our initial opinions? So after talking with Steph for over an hour, it was very clear to us that, yeah, perhaps he's a leader in his field. But another thing, we will always have a really good memory because he talked so well of the city, how much he loved it, all the good things. And then he gave us a lot of tips like, hey, make sure you go here, make sure you go there. You know, just giving all of these tips of how to make our experience even better. Again, another unexpected friendliness trait, you know, whether he's a leader or not, it still reflected great on our whole experience as we kept going. not only in, just the hotel itself, but the entire city. Okay, so next on our stop was we wanted to go to something called the Fremont Experience, which is several miles north of the main Vegas Strip. So we said, well, we don't want to walk there, so let's call an Uber. Enter Totally. To note, Brandy has never used the Uber service before. I've used it several times, but she's never used it. Again, here we go with being a brand ambassador for your company or your organization. So the first time that we stood in a pickup spot, we were completely in the wrong spot and didn't realize it. Totally messaged us, said, no problem, I'll come and pick you up right where you are. Great. So he picked us up. We sat in the car and he said, hey, you want to go to the Fremont Experience, is that right? He said, yeah, but exactly where? I don't have an address. We're like, well, we've never been there. We're quite not sure where we want to go. He said, you know what? Don't you worry about it. You relax. I'm going to take you exactly where I drop everybody else off. It'll be great. We said, okay, great. It was a very short ride, but in those few minutes, we got to know Totally pretty good. He asked us questions. He was really friendly. He said, what brings you to Las Vegas? Where are you from? All the probably normal things that you would do as an Uber driver. But again, it made the experience that much better. Now, as I said earlier before, Brandy had never used the Uber service. Now, one of the things that we did do is when he came to pick us up, we verified his name, we verified his license plate, made sure he was who he was. And he saw that we were doing that just to make sure everything was on the up and up. And he said, when we got in the car, hey, you know what? It's great that you did that verification. I wish more people would do that. Then he went on to say how much he liked being an Uber driver, how it was fun. He was telling us about different people that he had picked up, different stories, and how much he loved it. And we're like, that's great. So more than likely, I'm sure Brandy is going to use Uber again and again just based on her experience. Now, we're not saying Totally was a leader in the Uber business. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. But again, when you display that leadership trait of friendliness, it really reflects great on your brand, your organization. And guess what? Yeah, Brandy, before we even got out of the car, said, how do we give you a tip? I mean, that really speaks to all you have to do is be friendly to people. You can ask simple questions. Just make them feel comfortable, make them feel relaxed, and it makes a huge difference in your organization. Okay, for everybody who has never been in Las Vegas, this is my third time here, but it is my first time at the Fremont Street Experience. So if you can kind of see behind me, there's this really, really awesome long tunnel just full of sound and lights and people and shopping and everything. So check it out. Enter in friendliness experience number 4, and that is King. Okay, so we made it to the Fremont Experience. We had a great time, and hopefully you enjoyed some of the video that I just showed you about what it looked like. So we had to call another Uber driver to get back to where we needed to be. Now at this point, Brandy's already had a really good experience with Uber, so we're hoping the second experience is going to be good as well. We were still in the wrong pickup spot. The app was a little confusing, but that was okay. King still found us. He was completely friendly. He's like, hey, get in the car. It's great. It's no problem. King was extremely chatty. Said, hey, where are you from? Where are you going? As we were driving, he was pointing things out, pointing about the history of Vegas, how much he loves working here, how much he loves living here, raising his family. I mean, it was a pleasant experience. For him, being an Uber driver, that reflected great on the company, great on him. And of course, here I am now explaining to you how much friendliness really affected our experience. Maybe King's not a leader as a title, but he took the lead in saying, look, this is the company that I work for, this is the organization, this is me as a brand, and this is how I'm going to treat my customers. I'm going to treat them with friendliness, I'm going to treat them as if they are the most important thing in the world, because he did have a phone call coming in, and he paused it because he was chatting with us. As you can see, because I am sitting here relaying all these stories of friendliness and how it can really change an experience of somebody, hopefully that kind of shows you how it can be paid forward and how it can really make or break your brand. It's time for our 5th and final friendliness experience, and this comes from Christopher. Like I said earlier, Brandy's never been to Vegas, so I felt, you know what, you gotta go to Caesar's Palace Forum Shops. They're beautiful, she loves art, and we wandered into this fine art gallery. And little did we know, they had Picassos there, Rembrandts, Renoirs, a lot of awesome artists. And yes, a lot of that art was for sale, upwards of $65,000 to $100,000. Now, we weren't planning on buying anything, so we just kind of wandered around and we just really wanted to respect some of the fine art that they had. And we really didn't expect them to approach us and ask if we wanted anything, but in comes Christopher. So we wandered into the back of the gallery and Christopher said, hey, is there anything that I can help you with? Anything in particular you're looking for? Now, think about it, Christopher was dressed in a completely nice suit. All of his coworkers were suited up. I mean, it's a fine art gallery, right? Here we are just kind of hanging out in casual wear. And here is Christopher being extremely friendly, saying, hey, is there anything I can help you with? Well, just like with Steph, we had probably a 30 or 45-minute conversation with Christopher as well. We learned where he was from in LA and San Francisco, and he's been all around the world, and he loved fine art, loved being, in the gallery. So what was really interesting about this though is he made us feel at home, because as soon as you walk in, you know how sometimes if you walk into a really fancy place maybe and you're not dressed the part, you feel a little funny. There's nothing like that here. His friendliness is exactly why I'm telling you that I would go back to that art gallery in a heartbeat. And honestly, there were a couple art pieces that I was looking at, I was kind of eyeballing. If I was going to buy anything, it would definitely be from that gallery and from Christopher, because he made us feel at home. He had stories that related to us. He was just all in out friendly. Now here's the cool thing. Not only was Christopher extremely friendly after our 30 to 45-minute conversation, Brandy and I started leaving the art gallery, and then the rest of the coworkers started talking to us, and they were pretty experienced. We started talking about art museums, our favorite artists, art museums that they had been to, places that we had been to. It was a really great conversation. Even just a little bit of relationship building, just a little bit of friendliness, just talking to people, asking them questions, making them feel comfortable. That's all these people did. It was a great experience, not only with Christopher, but with the art gallery, with his coworkers, with the brand in general. Hopefully those 5 stories convince you to add friendliness as a leadership trait in your leadership toolbox. Now, whether you are a waiter, whether you're a business person, whether you're an Uber driver, or whether you work at a fine art gallery or anywhere else, it's always important to remember who you serve, your clients. Being in business, being in leadership, it is a people business, and relationships is the most important thing when it comes to building your leadership toolbox. And if there is a leadership trait that will be noteworthy, memorable, as you just saw, it's going to be friendliness. All you have to do, talk to people, listen to them, ask a couple questions, just be there for them. Treat them like a friend. And that's what all 5 of these people did. They made our experience here in Las Vegas, which again is considered Sin City, a very friendly, wholesome, fun experience. And that can make all the difference when you're trying to go up the leadership ladder, if you're trying to build your business, if you're trying to build your brand. Add friendliness as your biggest leadership trait, and you will go very far. Okay, high achiever, it's time for action. How are you going to instill the friendliness leadership trait in your leadership toolbox tomorrow? Not next week, not next month, actually tomorrow. So who are you going to be friendly to? Who do you think you can strike up a conversation with? What client do you think you're going to make feel more comfortable when it comes to your brand or your company? If you've got any ideas, I would love to hear them. Let me know in the comments below. And if this video gave you a spot of motivation, well then just give it a thumbs up. And if you want to be a confident leader and take things to the next level, but you're not sure where to start, book a 100% free leadership strategy session with me. We'll talk about your challenges, your goals, and the next steps you can take to be the leader you're meant to be. Just book your spot in the link below and we'll get you in. There's no better time than right now to grow your leadership skills. And if you want more leadership videos to grow your skills, well, check these out. And don't forget, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon right now so you never miss an episode. Thanks for watching Kristie TV, and keep growing that friendliness leadership trait.